You know that feeling. When your brain just latches onto something, maybe a conversation or a decision you've got to make, and it won't let go.
Oh, absolutely. It's like it's stuck on a repeat.
Yeah, like this unwelcome guest in your head, just replaying things, picking them apart, or jumping way ahead to, like, predict total disasters that probably wouldn't even happen.
It's such a common thing, isn't it? This mental looping. And I know you, our listener, you value digging into things, understanding how they work. So we're going to explore this whole internal state today, really get into it, but without making it overly complicated.
Exactly. So this deep dive is all about overthinking. We'll look at what makes it so challenging, where it actually comes from.
The roots of it.
Right, the roots. And crucially, some practical things we can actually do to maybe get some relief from it. We've also got some stories from people who've kind of figured out ways to manage it.
Yeah, and we're drawing on a really comprehensive article today. It was actually written for advanced English learners, but honestly, it's just full of great insights, the problems, the causes, solutions, tips.
And those stories, too.
And those personal stories, which I think make it really relatable.
Okay, let's get into it then. First off, let's really unpack the impact of overthinking. Because it's definitely more than just, being a bit annoying, right? It feels like it takes a real toll.
Oh, absolutely. The article really stresses that it's not just a nuisance. It genuinely gets in the way of our well-being, our ability to just function day to day. It describes it as this kind of persistent mental habit. You've got rumination, which is chewing over past stuff without getting anywhere.
Right, going round and round.
Exactly. And then there's excessive worry, constantly anticipating threats in the future. Both are key parts of this whole overthinking picture.
Okay. And the article lays out 7 main challenges. The first one, decision paralysis. I mean, that hit home for me. It's like your brain just goes into overdrive analyzing everything, and you end up completely frozen, even with tiny choices sometimes.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you think you're being thorough, doing your due diligence.
Yeah, responsible even.
Right. But actually, it breeds this intense fear of making the wrong choice. Your mind just conjures up so many what-ifs that you get stuck. Mental gridlock. And like you said, it's not just big life stuff. It can be choosing a movie, right? By the time you scrolled through everything.
You're too exhausted to watch anything.
Exactly. The article uses that phrase analysis paralysis, which just captures it perfectly. You're so lost in the details you can't move.
Yeah, lost in the what ifs and totally missing the what is.
Yeah.
Okay, the second challenge. How overthinking ramps up anxiety and stress. That seems pretty direct. Constantly dwelling on problems must put your system on high alert.
It does. By focusing on potential dangers, worst-case scenarios, even tiny perceived slights, your mind is basically hitting the panic button for your body's stress response.
Constantly.
Pretty much constantly for chronic overthinkers. So you get flooded with cortisol, muscles tense up, that general feeling of unease. And the article points out it becomes a vicious cycle. Overthinking causes anxiety, which then makes you overthink even more.
Right. It feeds itself.
Exactly. It can even show up physically, headaches, stomach issues. Your mind's always scanning for threats. Even when things are calm, it really steals your peace.
And then there's how it messes with our perception. Blowing things out of proportion. Like a simple comment suddenly feels like a massive attack.
Yes. This is where the overthinking mind really shows its creativity, unfortunately. Minor bumps become catastrophes. A neutral remark gets twisted into an insult. Small mistakes feel like the end of the world. Catastrophizing, that's the technical term. Assuming the absolute worst is bound to happen, it's a really common distortion here.
So, like, if your boss gives you some feedback.
It's not just feedback, it's, oh no, I'm definitely getting fired. Or if a friend takes a while to text back.
They must hate me.
Exactly. Not just, oh, they're probably busy. It completely skews how you see things, how you react.
Wow, that sounds exhausting just thinking about it. And it makes sense then that if all your energy is going into worrying, your actual problem-solving ability probably suffers.
It's counterintuitive, isn't it? You'd think all that thinking would lead to answers.
Yeah.
But the article highlights that overthinking often gets in the way of real problem-solving. Instead of focusing on practical steps, you're stuck in those what-if loops.
Right.
Genuine problem solving needs clarity, focus, accepting some uncertainty. Overthinking with all its fear and need for perfection just undermines that. Your mental RAM is just full of worry, leaving no space for creative solutions.
And it doesn't just stay inside our heads, does it? It can really impact our relationships too.
Oh, hugely. Constantly second-guessing things. Did I say the wrong thing? Well, what did that look really mean? It makes you guarded.
Suspicious, maybe.
Yeah, suspicious even. It makes it hard to build real trust and openness. And when conflicts pop up, which they do,
Of course.
overthinking makes resolving them so much harder. You replay arguments, assume bad intentions, expect rejection. It just blocks honest communication.
Plus, you might just seem distant if you're always stuck in your head.
Exactly. Unintentionally, you push people away.
And as if that wasn't enough, it hits our productivity too. All that mental churning just drains you, makes it hard to get stuff done.
Precisely. The energy drain is real. There's just less mental bandwidth left for tasks. That decision paralysis we talked about leads straight to procrastination.
Because starting feels too risky.
Too risky, yeah. You're anticipating everything that could go wrong. And even if you do start, worrying about mistakes or criticism slows you right down. Your mind's too busy firefighting potential problems to focus on the actual work.
So deadlines get closer, stress goes up.
And the cycle continues.
Yep.
And the last one. The classic nighttime visitor. Trouble sleeping. Like we've all been there, right? It's 3 a.m. Brain decides it's prime worry time. Definitely. The overthinking mind doesn't really switch off easily. And the quiet of the night, fewer distractions. It's perfect timing for anxieties to bubble up.
Replaying the day?
Or worrying about tomorrow. Yeah, that constant mental noise makes falling asleep, staying asleep, getting proper rest really difficult.
And being tired just makes everything worse, right?
Absolutely. The article points out that lack of sleep then fuels more anxiety, makes it harder to think clearly. It just adds another layer to the problem.
Okay, so summing up this first part, it really sounds like overthinking traps you in your own head. It's exhausting, it knocks your confidence, warps your perspective, and stops you from actually doing things and just being present.
That's a really good summary. You feel mentally stuck, and the article makes it clear. Recognizing these challenges, understanding the real impact it has, that's the crucial first step towards breaking free from this pattern.
Okay, so we've seen what it does, but why do we do it? Where does all this mental looping actually come from?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the article rightly says understanding the roots, the why, is key to finding solutions that actually work. It's not just random noise.
Right. And the first root cause they mention is the fear of failure and judgment. I think pretty much everyone can relate to that on some level, that worry about not being good enough.
Absolutely. Underneath a lot of overthinking is this deep fear of falling short, either by our own standards or what we think others expect. Believing failure is catastrophic or that negative opinions are unbearable. That drives this need to analyze everything, anticipate every possible negative outcome.
So overthinking is like a shield, a weird, unhelpful shield.
Kind of, yeah. A misguided attempt to control things, to defend our sense of self-worth. And the article notes this often links back to past criticism, or maybe growing up in a really high-pressure situation, or just believing your value depends entirely on succeeding.
That makes a lot of sense. Then there's the need for certainty and control. The world is uncertain, so it feels like overthinking is our brain trying to nail everything down.
Exactly. It offers this illusion of control in a messy world. By playing out endless scenarios, we're trying to avoid surprises, trying to manage things that are fundamentally unmanageable.
Like predicting the future.
Sort of, yeah. It often comes from a real intolerance of uncertainty. The unknown feels dangerous. So the mind spins, trying to prep for every possibility, usually focusing on the negative ones. This need for certainty fuels both looking back rumination and looking forward worry.
And it's not just current fears, is it? Our past experiences play a big role.
A huge role. Negative past events, especially things like failure, betrayal, maybe even trauma, can basically rewire our brains to be hyper alert.
Always scanning for danger.
Exactly. Overthinking becomes a way to keep replaying the past, trying to figure it out, or trying to spot similar dangers coming up. Especially if the past event felt out of control, that really reinforces the need to analyze everything now.
Okay. Another big one the article points out is perfectionism. That drive for flawlessness seems like perfect fuel for overthinking. You're almost setting yourself up to worry.
Oh, definitely. Perfectionists get tangled up in tiny details, constantly checking and rechecking, looking for flaws. Even the slightest fear of a mistake can trigger endless revisions, dwelling on minor points. And the article makes a good distinction. This isn't healthy striving for excellence.
Right.
No, it becomes this anxious compulsion. It makes it hard to finish anything or to feel good about what you have done. The standards are just impossibly high, which guarantees ongoing self-criticism and over-analysis.
And this next one was interesting, how societal and cultural pressures can actually encourage overthinking without us realizing it.
It's a subtle but important point. Modern life often seems to glorify being busy, being on, constantly thinking.
Right, like you should be analyzing everything.
Yeah, there can be this unspoken pressure. Even expressing worry can sometimes be seen as being responsible or conscientious. Thoughtful reflection is good, of course, but these norms can blur the line and accidentally validate just excessive mental churning.
What?
Makes it harder to see when it crosses into unproductive territory.
That's a good point, the outside world influencing our inner habits.
And the last root they mentioned is something probably many of us could work on, a lack of self-compassion.
Yes, that critical inner voice is often a close companion to overthinking. People who struggle with it tend to be really hard on themselves.
Quick to blame themselves.
Very quick, for any perceived slip-up. This lack of kindness makes it harder to accept uncertainty, embrace imperfection, or just see setbacks as normal. That harsh inner dialogue just keeps adding fuel to the fire, demanding more analysis of flaws, more anticipation of criticism. It just keeps the cycle going.
So understanding these roots, fear of failure, needing control, past stuff, perfectionism, society, lack of self-compassion, it really highlights that tackling those core beliefs is essential to really get a handle on overthinking long term. Like that fear of failure feeds right into the decision paralysis we talked about. Exactly. The article really drives home that effective strategies often need to address these deeper fears and beliefs. It's not just about stopping the thoughts, it's about understanding why they're there and meeting those underlying needs differently.
Right. Okay, so we've looked at the what and the why. Now for the really important bit. How do we actually start untangling all this? What practical strategies does the article suggest?
Okay, this is where we get actionable. The article lays out 11 really practical strategies with concrete steps. First and foremost, probably the foundation, cultivating mindfulness and presence.
Mindfulness, we hear that word a lot. How exactly does it help when your mind's racing?
Well, mindfulness is essentially about bringing non-judgmental awareness to right now. Overthinking pulls you into the past or future, right? Mindfulness is the anchor that brings you back to the present. The article suggests using a physical anchor, your breath, the feeling of your feet on the floor, sounds around you, when you notice your mind wandering off into overthinking.
Which it will.
Oh, it definitely will. You just gently guide your attention back to that anchor. Another way is a body scan, just noticing sensations in different parts of your body without judging them. Or even just fully engaging your senses in daily stuff, really tasting your coffee, feeling the water in the shower, training your mind to stay present.
And it's crucial not to beat yourself up when your mind does wander, right? The article stresses that.
Absolutely critical. Gentle redirection. The article suggests thinking something like, there's that overthinking again, as a neutral observation, not, oh, why can't I stop this? It's a skill you build over time.
Okay. Second strategy, challenging your thoughts. Makes sense, given the distorted perception thing. Looking at those negative thoughts and asking, is this actually true? Like debugging your own brain.
Exactly like debugging. Cognitive restructuring, they call it. You identify those unhelpful thoughts fueling the overthinking and question them.
How do you do that practically?
Well, first, notice the thought. Maybe write it down. Then ask, what's the actual evidence for this thought? What contradicts it? Is there another, more balanced way to look at this?
Okay.
So if you think, my presentation bomb, everyone thinks I'm useless, challenge it.
Yeah.
What specific feedback did you get? Were there any good parts? Maybe people were just quiet. Then learn to spot common thinking errors like catastrophizing, assuming the worst, or fortune-telling, predicting bad outcomes. Just naming the error can take away some of its power.
Like calling it out.
Exactly. And finally, try to create a more realistic alternative thought. Not I'm useless, but maybe, okay, parts of that could have been better, I'll learn from it.
Becoming a detective for your own thoughts. Okay, the next one surprised me a bit. Setting boundaries for thinking time. Scheduling worry time.
Well,
Doesn't that just mean the worry hangs around until the appointment?
that's a really fair question. The idea isn't to suppress thoughts, which usually backfires, but to contain them. So you pick a specific time and place, maybe 20 minutes early evening, not right before bed. If a worry pops up outside that time, you acknowledge it and consciously postpone it.
Like, I'll deal with you later.
Pretty much. Maybe jot it down so you don't worry about forgetting. Then, during your scheduled time, you engage with those thoughts. You might find some have lost their punch. For others, you try to use the time for actual problem solving, not just worrying. And crucially, when the time's up, you stop until the next session. It's about reclaiming control over when you engage with these worries.
Giving your worries an appointment slot. I kind of like that. Okay, number 4. Prioritize action over analysis, breaking the spell by just doing something, however small.
Exactly. Inaction feeds overthinking. Taking even tiny steps can break that paralysis. The article says something like, imperfect action beats perfect inaction.
I like that.
Yeah. Break big tasks down into the smallest possible steps. Focus only on the very next one. Set tiny goals. Give yourself permission for it not to be perfect. The 5-minute rule helps too. Just start for 5 minutes. Often, that's enough to get going. And shift focus from the outcome, which fuels worry, to the process of doing.
Just get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Practice acceptance and letting go. That sounds easier said than done when your mind feels like it's running the show.
It definitely takes practice. But a lot of overthinking comes from fighting reality, resisting uncertainty, imperfection, things we can't control. Acceptance is about acknowledging reality as it is without judgment.
So how do you practice that?
Start by distinguishing what you can control, your actions, reactions from what you can't, others' behavior, external events. Acknowledge your feelings about it. It's okay to feel anxious or frustrated. Trying to bottle them up makes it worse. And letting go means consciously choosing not to get tangled in unproductive thoughts. Imagine them like clouds drifting by or leaves on a stream. You see them, but you don't have to grab onto them.
Focus your energy where it counts. Number 6, learn to tell the difference between actual problem solving and just overthinking loops.
A really crucial difference. Productive thinking moves toward solutions. Overthinking gets stuck on the problem, going round and round.
So ask yourself.
Ask, is this thinking actually getting me anywhere? Am I exploring actions or just rehashing worries? If it's problem solving, define the issue, brainstorm solutions, pick one, maybe schedule a review. If it's just looping,
Recognize it and shift.
yes, shift from why me or what if to, okay, what's one constructive thing I can do now?
That's a helpful reframe. Next, the mind-body connection. Physical activity and general well-being.
Absolutely vital. Our mental state is so tied to our physical health. Exercise is a brilliant stress buster, releases endorphins.
Even just a walk.
Even a short walk can break the cycle. Good sleep is critical. A tired brain overthinks more easily. Healthy food supports stable moods. Relaxation techniques, deep breathing, meditation, calm the nervous system. Taking care of your body builds resilience against mental challenges like overthinking.
Makes sense. It's all connected. Okay, next. Seek support from others. Don't try to handle it all alone.
So important. Talking about these thoughts with someone you trust. Friend, family, therapist can offer perspective, lighten the load. Just saying it out loud can make worries feel less powerful. Build that support network. And the article mentions if overthinking is really impacting your life, consider professional help like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It offers specific tools. You don't have to tough it out solo.
Right, and we touched on this earlier, but number 9 is really focusing on self-compassion. Being kinder to yourself seems like a direct antidote to that harsh inner critic.
Exactly. Treat yourself like you'd treat a friend going through the same thing. Notice your self-talk when you're overthinking. Is it harsh? Critical? Yeah. Try replacing "why am I so stupid for worrying?"
Yeah.
with something like, "this is tough, lots of people struggle with this, it's okay." Remind yourself it's human to have difficult thoughts. Self-compassion softens that internal environment, makes it easier to use the other strategies because you're reducing that fear of self-judgment.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 10 is a classic, journaling. Getting thoughts out of your head and onto paper.
Such a valuable tool. It externalizes thoughts, makes them feel less huge, helps you spot patterns.
Different ways to do it.
Yep. Free writing, just dump everything onto the page without editing. Thought records note the situation, thought, feeling, then use those challenging questions we talked about. Or even gratitude journaling, focusing on positives, can shift your perspective away from worry. It gives you distance, lets you look at thoughts more objectively.
And finally, number 11 tackles perfectionism head on. Set realistic expectations and embrace imperfection.
Yes. If perfectionism fuels your overthinking, you need to consciously lower the bar sometimes. Accept that good enough really is good enough. Identify where you put the most pressure on yourself. Challenge the belief that mistakes equal failure. See them as learning chances. Set good enough goals for some things, not always aiming for impossible perfection. And celebrate the effort, the progress, not just some flawless end result. It frees up so much mental energy.
Wow, that's a really comprehensive toolkit. But like the article says, using them takes practice and patience, right? It's not an overnight fix.
Absolutely not. There will be good days and bad days. The key is persistence. Keep coming back to the strategies, learn from setbacks, and gradually build healthier habits. It's definitely a journey.
And to bring this to life, the article shares some stories fictionalized, but based on common experiences of people tackling overthinking. Let's start with Kenji in Japan, facing intense academic pressure.
Yeah, Kenji's story shows how that pressure to succeed can easily spiral into overthinking about grades, the future. His breakthrough came with mindfulness meditation.
Just focusing on his breath.
Just a few minutes a day. It helped him create space between himself and the worries. He learned to observe them, label them, worry thought, without getting carried away. That, plus mindful walking, slowly loosened overthinking's grip. He found more peace, more focus for his studies. Still felt pressure, but managed it better.
Then there's Maria in Brazil, a business owner stuck in decision paralysis. That fear of making a bad move was holding her back.
Maria's story is a great example of imperfect action. Her mentor basically told her, stop analyzing endlessly, break decisions down, and just try things.
Small experiments.
Exactly. Testing a new coffee blend, short ad campaigns. She got real-world feedback, built confidence. Not everything worked perfectly, but the disasters she'd imagined didn't happen. Her business grew because she started using thinking to drive action, not block it.
And Adebayo in Nigeria, a father weighed down by worries about his kid's future.
Adebayo's story highlights community and acceptance. Sharing his worries with a community elder gave him perspective, encouraged trust and faith, accepting what he couldn't control. Getting involved in community things, like after-school programs, shifted his focus from worry to positive action. Mindful prayer helped too. His worries didn't vanish, but they stopped consuming him. He learned to separate real concern from obsessive worry.
And lastly, Chiara, an artist in Italy, blocked by perfectionism and fear of criticism.
Chiara's journey shows how therapy, self-compassion, and shifting focus can help. Recognizing her perfectionism, being kinder to herself, that loosened the rigid standards.
Focusing on the process, not just the outcome.
Exactly. Rediscovering the joy of making art, not just producing a flawless piece. Journaling helped her challenge that inner critic. She started finishing work, showing it, embracing imperfections as part of her style.
These stories really tie it together, don't they? No single magic bullet, but common themes. Mindfulness, action, support, self-kindness.
Precisely. They show different strategies work for different people, often in combination. It's about finding what resonates with your specific patterns.
So it really feels like overcoming overthinking is less about reaching a final cured state and more about an ongoing practice of awareness.
That's a really important way to frame it. The article stresses it's not always linear. Old habits might pop up, especially when stressed.
Don't see it as failure.
Exactly. See it as a chance to practice those skills again. Be patient with yourself. Keep using the strategies. Notice what works. Adjust. Maintain healthy habits. And maybe most importantly, remember why you wanted to change this pattern in the first place. That why is powerful fuel.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive, the big takeaway seems to be overthinking feels powerful, maybe even overwhelming, but it's a habit, rooted in fears, needs, but changeable, with awareness and practice.
Absolutely. And we've covered a lot of tools. Mindfulness, challenging thoughts, setting thinking boundaries, taking action, acceptance, telling problem solving from worry, well-being, support, self-compassion, journaling, embracing imperfection.
Quite the list.
It is, but powerful tools.
And those stories really show that change is possible. It takes effort finding what works for you.
They really do offer hope. By consciously using these tools, tailoring them, you really can find more freedom from that cycle.
So maybe for you listening, take a second to think about your own patterns. Which of these strategies we talked about feels like maybe a good starting point for you? Just one small step to explore. Because ultimately, getting back that mental space from overthinking, that leads to a more peaceful, more present, more engaged life.
Freeing yourself up to actually experience the moment instead of being lost in the past or worrying about the future.